everyone, so you clicked on this video because you want to know, is breathwork for real? Well, in this video what I do is I break down my first 3 real sessions of breathwork that I did at home. This is without a facilitator, not in a group setting. This is just at home listening to something on my phone. So in this I break down my first 3 sessions, and you got to stick around for the last one because something really powerful happened to me during that experience. So because I'm a little chatty in this video, I will leave timestamps in the description below if you get bored of listening to me chat and you just want to jump to the 3rd session and find out what happened. If you're interested in seeing the progression and how it develops, then definitely stick around and watch all 3 experiences. I try to just stick to the key points of things that are most important for you to hear in order to get the most from this video and to decide whether or not you want to start pursuing breathwork and maybe what you could expect to happen during your first initial sessions. Anyway guys, I'm so glad you're here. Stick around, and hey, if you appreciate this video, don't forget to click that like button. All right, let's dive into it. Wow. Okay, so literally I just finished my first breathwork exercise that lasted longer than 30 minutes. And I followed a recording that my friend Coulter Smith, who you'll want to watch the interview if you haven't seen it with him. He's a breathwork facilitator and he works with people in Arizona. It's definitely worth watching the interview because he talks all about it. But so he shared with me a breathwork exercise that he suggested I try. It was profound. No doubt about it. This is one of the most powerful things I've ever experienced, and I am very much looking forward to continuing and broadening my experience with breathwork after experiencing this. So I've looked into a lot of different change modalities, like how do we experience real profound shifts inside of our lives that relate to a change in how we experience life. So, going through life with a chip on our shoulder, so to speak, and then being able to get rid of that chip on our shoulder through certain exercises and practices. And so I have experimented with LSD and psilocybin and neuro-linguistic programming and Psych-K and deep meditation, hypnosis, all these things to try to grasp how we can make these changes. And through this journey of mine, I have stumbled across breathwork, and that's why I reached out to Coulter Smith. And he was able to share all kinds of fascinating stories and experiences, and he has a lot of wisdom in this area. This morning I went to the gym, and I've been having a lot of issues with my lower back. A lot of issues that stems from my hip, my left side, and then lower back. And this has a point. There's a reason I'm telling you this. So when I got home this morning, I wanted to, jump right into work and start making things happen, but there was like this little voice in the back of my head nagging at me saying, you really should go try this breathwork exercise. And the reason why that nagging voice was there is because I've been experiencing this back pain now for quite a while. And I thought, okay, I truly believe, based upon the stories that I've read and the experiences that I've had, is that our body can manifest physical symptoms based upon emotional or psychological or even spiritual traumas that we carry with us. And there are so many stories out there about people resolving physical pain with emotional and spiritual type of work. So I was thinking about my lower back, and I was thinking, there's really no reason. I've never done anything major to my back. I mean, I've lifted weight that's too heavy and hurt it that way. But over the past, there's really nothing there. So I thought, well, maybe there's a deeper psychological reason that I have this pain, and perhaps, maybe, it's something that I can find or resolve through breathwork. And so this morning, as I was feeling that pain in my lower back, I thought, okay, let's do this. And I set my intention as I want to gain a better understanding or perhaps resolve this issue with my lower back. So Now, I know that's kind of a long story. Let's dive into the breath work. So I laid down, I started the recording that Coulter recommended, and I began the process of slowly breathing deeply and following the guided exercise that this man puts you through. It started out, he said, you may be feeling something. I wasn't feeling anything, and I was, breathing, and so kept doing it, didn't really feel anything, and then all of a sudden I started feeling like this buzzing, like an electrical feeling inside my head and numbness. And what happened is as I was doing this, all of a sudden I noticed that my hands started to close in, and they started to close in even more, and pretty soon I felt like I was gonna break my thumbs because they were closing in so tight, but I had no control over loosening or moving my hands. My fingers were just closing in and they were pushing on my thumbs, and as that began to get stronger and stronger, I noticed it was just like this urge. I couldn't help it. My arms started to curl in, and I kept breathing, and it started to get painful. I mean, like I literally felt quite a bit of pain inside of my hands and inside of my arms because there were muscles contracting that I didn't know what the heck was going on. And then pretty soon my arms raised up over my head like this, and they were just stuck there, and I couldn't do it. And I felt this immense tension and pain inside of my arms. And something that Coulter said that stuck with me is that it's that sometimes when you do this, it's painful, whether psychologically, emotionally, or even physically. And it's at the moment that you want to give up that you're about ready to have a breakthrough. And so as the pain increased here, I also noticed an intense pain inside of my left calf. And we all know that through body work, there is, if even a tendon inside of your foot is tight or out of place, it can affect your entire system all the way up your leg into your knee. It can affect your hip, and if your hip is messed up, it can affect your upper back and your shoulder and the way you hold your head. So everything is interconnected, and I started feeling this intense pain inside of my left calf. So here I was, my hands up like this, curled tight, and my left leg is cramping. My body had broke out into this tremendous sweat. I mean, it was like it was the type of sweat that you feel after running for 3 miles, and you're pushing yourself. It was that kind of a sweat. So here I was at this place, and I wanted to stop, but I kept doing it, and all of a sudden the breathing became easier. It was like it wasn't as labored, and I felt like there was an expansion inside my stomach and my chest that allowed me to fill everything without work. It wasn't hard, it was easy. And so I continued to breathe, and all of a sudden a flood of emotion. I began crying, like sobbing almost. And I'm not a crier. I mean, I've been through some really heavy stuff, and I never expressed that emotion, but it came out, and there was it's not like a memory came to mind that triggered it. It was just, it felt like it was something that had to come out. And here I was enveloped in this process, and there was this pain. I released that, and from that point, the pain in my hands began to dissipate. And the pain in my leg began to dissipate. And everything started to loosen, and all of a sudden I wasn't squeezing as tight. I was able to bring my arms down, and then I was able to bend at the elbow to start straightening things out. So it was, and then on top of that, there's the whole experience of inside your mind. It's just like massive amounts of energy. It was towards the conclusion of this, I started just being able to release, and then I was completely overwhelmed with this sense of energy and gratitude just for existing, and I couldn't help it, but I broke into laughter. I just started laughing because it just felt so good to breathe and to be alive. It was powerful. And I don't know if doing this is, if I'm going to resolve back pain. If I do, I'll probably make another video just to update this, but I thought it was very it was intriguing and very curious that I felt that type of a pain inside my left calf. calf, because it's always been my left side where I've felt all of the issues in my lower back and my hip. And then I know this is weird, and this is kind of weird to share. I feel weird about sharing this, but we're all humans, so what the heck. Something else that I noticed is, you know, my shirt was just, I was saturated with sweat. I took my shirt off. The sweat had a completely different scent than that of like the sweat that you get from working out. It was sweet. Like, it just smelled really sweet. And I know that's weird, probably kind of gross, but I just thought it was curious, and I wanted to share it with you, because they do talk about that through breath work you are actually detoxifying your body. So I don't know what that connection that has. Maybe eventually I will learn about that. But anyway, I just wanted to bring this to anybody who's thinking about trying breath work for the first time or is curious about what they're gonna experience. You know, this isn't, like I said, this isn't my first time. It's my first time going longer than 30. So my first time doing 30 minutes, the only thing that I experienced was an extreme, like, reverberating energy inside of my body, and I experienced like my fingers getting kind of tight, and that was it. This was a completely different experience. It was challenging, it was difficult, but I stuck with it, and I'm so glad that I did. I cannot imagine what holotropic breathwork is like, doing that for 3 hours. Wow, like, that must be powerful. So leave a comment down below with any questions that you might have about the experience that I might be able to answer for you. And be sure to check out that interview with Coulter. I'll leave a link for that at the end of this video or down in the description. That's definitely worth checking out if you're interested in shamanic or holotropic breath work. Yeah, so if you like this video, hey, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos, because in this channel, all we do is we talk about things that you can do to make profound shifts inside of your life to experience more abundance and more freedom, to be able to say, to look in the mirror, look yourself in the eye and say that I own this journey, that this journey is mine. I want you to be able to say that, because I want you to live a life of freedom and abundance and creation. Hey guys, so this is my report on my second really deep breathwork session, and I just wanted to give a report. So I felt the same intense pain in my arms and my hands. They curled up and closed. I couldn't straighten my arms, I couldn't move them, and I felt that intense pain. I'm not aware of the time when I was doing it, but I would guess probably starting around like the 20-minute mark and becoming really intense towards the 30-minute mark. And then as I continued to breathe, I mean, it got bad. I wanted to quit. It was extremely painful, but I focused on the breath and I kept breathing, and eventually all the muscles started to relax and my arms dropped. I was able to start opening my hands. So it was a really intense session. I didn't feel the same emotional surges that I felt during the first quantum light breath session, but this time it was more of an even keel, and I'm trying to identify why I feel that pain. Like, what is the reason? What is the purpose? What am I hanging on to? So I breathed through it. Eventually my hands relaxed, my arms relaxed, and then I was just in this like deep meditative state. And it took me probably about 30 minutes once I completed the meditation, once I completed the breath work, to really come out of it and to feel normal again. But otherwise I felt, I wouldn't say like I was on any drugs, but it definitely, like, I wasn't grounded. We'll just put it that way. Interesting note is that at the end of the breathwork session, I held my breath, and I couldn't help it. I like metrics. I timed it, and pretty easily I was able to hold my breath for 3 minutes and 15 seconds, which for me, that's mind-blowing. I've never done that before. So overall, it was a powerful experience, not on the emotional level, not on the same emotional level that it was during the first one, but still I felt it was profound, and I look forward to my next one. I'm hoping that I can work through this and figure out why exactly, or what exactly is causing that intense pain in my arms and hands as I go into this meditation. So I'll bring back an update when I get to after my third light breath session. Hey guys, so I just finished my third breathwork session, and whoa, like, I've done different psychedelics, trying to expand my mind, open my consciousness, get past old programming, capture the future that I want to create for myself. And psychedelics are amazing for what they can do for a person's mind and to conquer problems. And I can probably go a lot deeper into the psychedelic world, but I stumbled into breath work, and so this is my I just finished my third session, and it was profound. So I just finished it probably maybe 2 hours and a half ago, I would say. No, not even that, maybe an hour ago. And I guess I'll just tell you a little bit about what I experienced during it. So I set a timer for 1 hour and 5 minutes, and I turned on some breathwork music. That's all it was just music. There was no guidance or anything like that. And I just started breathing like I learned in the video with Coulter Smith, where he broke down basically how to get into breathwork. And I'll leave a link for that. But so I got into it, and about 10 to 15 minutes in, my whole body is tingling, and the same thing happened to me that happened the first 2 times that I've really gone deep into breathwork. Is the muscles in my hands closed up and real tight. I couldn't move them. And the other thing that happened is that my arms also came up. So my muscles felt contracted inside of my elbows. So they were tight up against like here. And my hands were closed like this, and I could not open them at all. And it was pretty painful. I mean, not pretty painful. It was painful. Like, it did not feel good. And so I would guess 10 minutes to probably 20 to 25 minutes. Like, I just wanted to quit. Like, it hurt. It hurt. It was not comfortable. It hurt. I was working hard trying to force my breath, but I kept going and kept going. And when I broke through, it wasn't like a breakthrough. It was like the pain started to slowly diminish, and all of a sudden I just had the urge, like a primal urge, to let out the sound of like pure anger and frustration and rage. And one of the things that Coulter talked about inside that video is, he said, the biggest thing that a facilitator does, or somebody that's there, one of the biggest things is they just give the people permission to do what feels right in the moment. And that's what doing breath work is about, is you experience, this upswell of emotions, and it's part of the process of this is to process them and to not suppress them. And so I felt this rage bubbling up inside me, and I just let it out. Like, I made all kinds of crazy noises, and my window was open, so the neighbors probably thought like a baboon got loose in the neighborhood. I don't know what they were thinking, but it probably sounded pretty wild. So coming out of that painful experience, and what was wild is the more that I let that just inside frustration out. It sounds wild, but it's like the muscles in my hands started to relax, and I was able to start working them a little bit and move them a little bit. And so I was continuing to breathe, and then all of a sudden the breathing became easy. Like, it wasn't difficult. It was like my lungs had opened up and they wanted that air. I mean, it was like the way Coulter talked about it, he said it's breathing, the breath is breathing you. And it was like everything, it became desirable. My body wanted it. I don't know how else to describe it. So I kept breathing, and the pain in my hands started going away. And like, I felt like I was sitting there, I was waiting. I was like, all right, so when is something crazy gonna happen? Like, I wanna be blasted into another dimension, or have apparitions, or give me something cool. And nothing was really happening. And I just focused on the breathing. I just kept focusing on the breathing. And what I did is I was focusing on carrying the breath, every breath, as deep into my belly as possible. And during this breathing, I was thinking about some of my major challenges and frustrations in my life. Like really, there's two major ones that were on my mind. And memories were bubbling up, things that I haven't thought about in years. People that I haven't thought about in years. I lost my grandmother. We were very close. She lived with us as a child, and she suffered from ovarian cancer, and she passed away when I was about 8 years old. And I haven't thought about her in a real long time. And all of a sudden, these memories started bubbling up of, like, I remember sitting at the sofa with her, and I don't want to talk about it too much because I'll get emotional. I loved her. She was amazing. And losing her was a pretty big impact. It was like, as a kid, I guess you just process those things differently. But so I guess that's just an example, So these memories were bubbling up inside of me, and I went through the whole meditation, and my timer went off at a minute 5, and I kept breathing, and I just kept breathing real deep because it felt so good. And all of a sudden, down where my sacral chakra would be, and I've never really I've studied chakras, and I've heard people talk about things happening and shifts and all that. But down where my sacral chakra was, I felt like an intense heat. So, it was, I don't know how else to describe it. It was like an intense heat. It was like an energy surge, a pulse. And it came, and it was pretty strong. I mean, it was, I would say, real strong, and then it kind of faded away, and I felt the urge to change my breathing pattern. And so I changed my breathing pattern to what felt right at the moment, and I went back into it. I started breathing deep again, like deep down into my belly, and thinking about the problems, and all of a sudden I felt that real strong heat, intense energy sensation where my sacral chakra would be, around that area. And I felt pain in my stomach, like on the ridge of my stomach. I don't know how else to say it. And it was like these things were showing up and then leaving, and it was like there was something moving inside of my body. And then I felt it up in my shoulder area and my neck, and I just kept breathing through it. And these things, it was so wild the way that this stuff was moving through. I mean, part of it felt good, part of it was uncomfortable and it hurt, but you just keep breathing through it. Anyway, so I ended up going for probably an hour and 20 minutes of breathing, and then I came to a stop. And wow, I mean, the feeling of just breathing after doing that for that period of time is it just feels so good and so easy. Like, it's just the breath, the air, it just wants to enter you. I don't know how to say it. Your lungs feel amazing. And so I after I finished that, like, your body is, you feel different. I'll just put it that way. Disconnected, I guess, light. You're not grounded. I'll put it that way. And so I laid there to meditate, because the sensation and all that work from breathing, it lingers with you for quite some time. So I laid there to meditate, and I have never had a meditation go that deep, ever. Like, it was, I feel like I left my body. Where I went, I have no idea, and I feel like I was snapped back in, because I don't know if I stopped breathing or what happened. But it was one of the deepest meditative states I have ever hit. It was when I let myself go into that meditative state. And so I came back and was kind of like, wow, that was crazy intense. And so I went back into meditation again, and it was the same thing. It was just incredibly deep. And the amount of time that passed that I was in that meditative state, it seemed like I only did it for maybe 5 minutes, but a half hour passed. So it was, that was a pretty wild meditation. I didn't, most of the times when I meditate intentionally, like, I am aware of what's happening. I know what I'm processing. I know, the thoughts that are coming to me and the thoughts that are leaving. During this meditation, there was none of that. Like it was, I know I wasn't asleep. I know I didn't fall asleep, but the depth was mind-numbing. All I'm gonna have to say is I need to try that again, because I want to stay more conscious during that and figure out what's happening, because that was crazy. Okay, and then so the last thing is that after the meditation, after I was done with that, like I decided I wanted to get up, and so I got up and I still felt pretty funny, not totally with it. Like everything, my body movements, it was a struggle to say open a doorknob or pour a cup of coffee or whatever, use my hands, use my fingers, and I just felt disconnected. I felt ungrounded, and so I decided, okay, I need to like ground myself here and come back into this plane of reality, like where I'm at. And so I went outside and kind of stood barefoot in the sun for a few minutes and went and made myself some breakfast, a nice solid breakfast, eggs and spinach and onions and peppers and all that kind of stuff. And breakfast has never tasted so amazing. And so I was able to kind of come back down and ground myself enough to shoot this video and talk to you about it. So I would say that, while I didn't have any like massive bliss hits in that third breathwork session, I feel like something shifted inside of me, and I can't wait to see what the results are. I mean, like, I know that life is a constant journey, we're never done, but I really feel like breathwork has the ability to rapidly help us move through some of the things that are difficult to move through, that in the normal everyday life and situation and journaling and normal meditation, it may take a lot of work to access that stuff, where with breath work it's a lot of work, but wow, I mean, direct hit. Just breathe, be with it, and see what surfaces and what happens and what I work through. And so this is just another video to add to the collection of all of the amazing processes and modalities and things that are at our fingertips to help us bring our most authentic true selves forward. Like that was one of the biggest things that I came out of this with, is like I just realized, like what is wellness? What is well-being? What does that mean? And really I think what it means is to move past the earthly things that slow us down, the programs that we got growing up, from the people around us and the people who looked out for us, the programs that we gathered from society, the hurts and the traumas that we experienced growing up, and the betrayals, and there's just so many things that cause, that like we come into this world as pure beings, and there are so many slights against our souls, against that pure beingness, essence that we have within. And a lot of us struggle to allow that stuff to basically pass through us. I know I have, like I'll put my hand up first, the stuff that I experienced, sometimes I'm able to, in one ear and out the other kind of stuff, like I thought I was past it, and really that stuff is just bound up and slowing me down. And that's what this is all about. Every single one of these modalities that we bring forward in Profound Shifts and the people that I talk with, it's all about bringing your most authentic self forward, freeing up the energy within yourself to be able to create the life that you desire, to have the impact that you want to have. I'm done rambling now. If you appreciate this video, please hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and be sure to join the mailing list, profoundshifts.com. Because what I do there is I will send you information from people who have cool tools for doing the kind of stuff that we just got done talking about, and then also tools that I find that are helpful. So yeah, jump on there and hit that subscribe button, that like button, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, peace.